Another day, another lesson by UPSC and more. Q. Assess the effectiveness of the current electoral reform measures in India in addressing issues of political financing, voter turnout, and fair representation. GS Paper 2 2023. India has implemented several electoral reform measures to address issues related to political financing, voter turnout, and fair representation. Let's assess the effectiveness of these measures in detail. 1. Political financing. One of the significant challenges in Indian elections is the role of money power. To curb this, the Election Commission of India (AC) has set up a cap on the amount of money that can be spent on election campaigns. Political parties are required to submit their annual financial statements, and the sources of their funds are subject to scrutiny. The AC has also implemented the use of electronic voting machines (EVMs) to reduce the influence of money power during elections. However, despite these measures, the use of black money and other illegal means of funding in elections is still prevalent, and there are calls for stricter regulations and enforcement. 2. Voter turnout. The AC has implemented several measures to encourage voter participation, such as the introduction of voter education programs, the use of voter identity cards, and the facilitation of postal and proxy voting. These measures have resulted in an increase in voter turnout over the years, with the 2019 general election recording a voter turnout of 67.4%, the highest in the history of Indian elections. However, there is still a significant section of the population that does not exercise their right to vote due to various reasons, including apathy, lack of awareness, and accessibility issues. 3. Fair representation. The Indian electoral system is based on the first past the post (FPTP) system, which has been criticized for not providing fair representation. However, efforts have been made to address this issue by the introduction of reservations for marginalized communities such as scheduled castes (SC) and scheduled tribes (ST) in the Indian Constitution. There are also provisions for women's reservation in local bodies, and the AC has implemented measures to ensure the participation of women in elections. However, despite these efforts, representation of marginalized communities and women in Indian politics remains inadequate. 4. Role of money power. Despite the ECI's regulations on political financing, there are concerns that candidates are still able to use illegal means to fund their campaigns. This has been attributed to a lack of transparency and accountability in the reporting of election expenses, as well as loopholes in the existing regulations. Some experts have called for a complete overhaul of the system to reduce the influence of money power in Indian elections. 5. Electoral bonds. The introduction of electoral bonds in 2018 has also been a point of debate, with some experts arguing that it has further enabled the use of anonymous and unaccounted funds in elections. Critics have also raised concerns about the lack of transparency in the process and the potential for the bonds to be misused for political gains. 6. Electronic voting machines. While the use of EVMs has helped to reduce malpractices such as booth capturing and ballot stuffing, there have been concerns about their reliability and security. Some experts have called for the implementation of additional safeguards such as paper trails and post-election audits to ensure the integrity of the electoral process. 7. Voter suppression. Despite efforts to increase voter turnout, there have been instances of voter suppression, such as the exclusion of certain communities from voter lists or the intimidation of voters at polling stations. These issues need to be addressed to ensure that all eligible voters are able to exercise their right to vote. In conclusion, while the Indian electoral reform measures have addressed some of the issues related to political financing, voter turnout, and fair representation, there is still room for improvement. Stricter enforcement of regulations on political financing, greater voter education and accessibility, and more effective measures to ensure fair representation are needed to make Indian elections truly free and fair. Thanks for watching.